Recording? You bet. It's a different.
Welcome to the Grappling With podcast.
Oh, it is.
Dr. Chris Hardy and William Walker will take a deep dive into topics covering wellness and prevention, performance, recovery, and injury management. Our mission is to provide the latest science-based information to help you get the most out of your grappling journey, both on and off the mats, and help you overcome any challenges you may be grappling with. Dr. Hardy is a licensed physician and BJJ practitioner, but the contents of the podcast are meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please seek out personalized care from your own medical provider prior to implementing any medical treatment or intervention.
Bill is a licensed buffoon. He says things that are a little squirrely. Do not hold these things against his gym mates, his family, Chris Hardy, Harry Hardy, or anybody at his gym. That's it.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Good day, Govey.
Yes.
What do you got?
Well,
Or what do I got?
I was going to say, what do you got? Because I have a topic I want to talk about today, but I think you have some questions first.
I do. There's actually been quite a few that have come in, but we're going to just touch on a couple supplement questions.
Oh.
I narrowed them down to just two.
After my rant on supplements.
Yeah. You big curmudgeon.
I know. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just joking.
First one is, what are Doc's thoughts? That's you. On Tongkat Ali?
Mm-hmm.
How do you, what am I doing?
No, you're fine.
Okay. How do you say this?
Dude, you did fine with it.
Tongkat?
That sounds good to me.
Sweet. So it's Tongkat
Ali.
Ali.
Yeah. I haven't done a deep dive on it. It is an anabolic that's been used, kind of a natural, quote unquote, testosterone booster. Before I give a good answer on that, I really need to kind of get into the literature on that to see what is recent. Because I want to give, anything that I talk about, I want to give potential benefits, what the research shows, and maybe what are the drawbacks or risks, if any. So I know it's been talked about quite a bit. People are always trying to, anytime you look at a podcast talking about TRT, that inevitably comes up. Yeah.
Is it kind of like a DHEA kind of thing?
No, I would have, again, I need to really review. I haven't, quite frankly, I don't have a whole lot of personal interest in that kind of thing. But if there's a question being asked, I'll really do a deep dive on it. And so we can kind of come back to that.
Probably talk to your better half.
Yeah, I'll talk to Carrie too. I'm sure she knows a lot about it. But I don't like just talking about something when I really haven't done a deep dive on it.
That's weird because I kind of pinned you as more of like a bullshitter kind of guy.
Did you?
I mean, just shooting from the hip.
No, I try not to.
Okay.
That's not good, especially if they're asking for like a medical opinion.
Right. That's just with like jiu-jitsu and life advice.
Pretty much. Or, yeah, exactly.
Well, sure.
The way I live my life in general, right? Shooting from the hip.
I'm sure our boy Echo Mania is going to be very disappointed, but we'll be back with that question. So
that's okay. I'm sure
He's
he, she, it,
That's
they,
true. Zer.
We'll get over it.
We got another question.
Okay.
Another supplement question, old Scotty. What are your thoughts on the ONNIT line of supplements, specifically the strength and performance? I don't know if that's like a single thing.
Like Shroom Tech and...
Shroom Tech, Alpha Brain, and I don't know if there's another strength and performance supplement they do, but what's your thoughts on this?
I've looked in, ONNIT does a pretty good job with third-party testing. I think they really look at using good ingredients, make sure there's not a lot of, wonky stuff going on in there, which can't be said for a lot of supplement brands, right? I think there's a lot of thought going into it, behind what they're putting in. And I think there seems to be some pretty good quality control and with that brand. As far as like Alpha Brain, they have done a couple studies with Alpha Brain. They did a couple randomized
audit, like they're not ONNIT people doing them.
They actually pawned that study out to, was it in Boston? It was one of the universities up there that did a study on cognition, a cognition study on before and after, or with ONNIT. I'd have to go look at the studies. I think there was a couple of them they did that seemed to show a benefit, like with short-term memory and things like that, and recall, and they put you through a battery of psychological tests on your ability to process information and kind of spit something back out. So there seemed to be some benefit to that, but again, I haven't looked at that in a long time.
So is that something that you would maybe take before jiu-jitsu?
I mean, it's all kind of related. I mean, people talk about sports and performance versus mood and energy and all that, but it all kind of goes together, doesn't it? I mean, jiu-jitsu is a pretty cerebral martial art for the most.
What is Shroom Tech?
Shroom Tech is a combo. I'd have to go look at the bottle again. I believe it's a combination of the various mushroom extracts, and those are very well researched.
What's the claim that Shroom Tech does?
Well, there's the thing is that's hard to pin down. I don't know what they claim it does.
Okay.
My understanding is it's a multiple extracts of different mushrooms like reishi, cordyceps, lion's mane, things like that, and they all have different benefits. Turkey tail, things like that. I know lion's mane's used a lot with cognition as well too. Turkey tail, cordyceps, things like that. There's some immune stimulating properties to some of that stuff. I don't know what they're claiming.
Yeah.
But I think as a brand, in general, if you're looking for comparable brands, it's a pretty solid brand as far as I can tell. You always look for good manufacturing processes on the label and third-party tested to make sure some other third party is coming in, randomly grabbing samples and making sure that what they say is in it is actually in it, because that's been a real problem in the supplement industry in general.
Are those things on the bottles and the boxes?
Yep. I think when we talked about supplements in that episode last year, I think we talked about what to look for, the GMP and the third party testing.
Okay.
Yeah. They seem to be pretty solid though. Again, with any of these things, you can get equivalent, I think, quality. Sometimes you pay for a name, right? And that's part of the marketing. And look around, because there's a lot of good some quality supplements out there. There's a lot of crap too. And so just kind of look around to make sure and you can even call the companies and ask them for their kind of analytical chemistry. Can I see your third-party testing data and things like that? I mean, they can provide it for you too if you're really interested. Do your research on supplements, but it seems pretty solid to me as far as the brand goes. I can't say if that. I haven't looked at any studies with Shroom Tech or anything like that. Yeah. Are they really producing what they say they're doing? You got to be real careful with claims with supplements too.
Yeah, and I didn't prep you on these questions. I just
it's okay.
Threw them at you here 2 seconds.
It's fine. It's fine. But I'd have to get the bottle.
Yeah.
I'd have to kind of look at it and then delve into
some of the
research to see what they've shown with the various supplements. The problem when you do multiple supplements, right? Sometimes they have synergistic effects where they all kind of work together for a common goal. But sometimes it's hard to tease out which each one is doing and which each one is contributing. Some of them can have antagonistic effects to each other where you're kind of canceling out some things. So you got to be, that's why I think someone asked about, what they ask about a couple months ago about the, what was that greens thing?
The AG1.
Yeah. I just said greens. That. Yeah, and it seems solid as far as the ingredients, but again, you're doing this all in one thing, man. I'm not a huge fan of that because with individualized nutrition and performance needs, what some people need, it's not like a shotgun approach. Right. Instead of like, hey, let me just take a couple things I think are working for me and kind of put them together.
It's like those big animal packs. It's kind of a one size fits all.
And I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do worse for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was just the 2 supplement questions.
No, they're good questions. I'm gonna have to get back to them on
we'll come back to
Tongkat Ali. Yeah,
especially because we will have Carrie on again. She can, you guys can both prep on that and then be able to talk on those things quite a bit, because we had a question I think last time too. L5,
the Factor V Leiden.
Yes.
So I asked Carrie about that. The question was, if I remember, early 40s female was thinking about hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
By the way, hormone replacement therapy, meaning that for some reason, whether she's had a hysterectomy or early menopause or something like that, she's not producing her own anymore. And she has a genetic predisposition to clotting, something called Factor V Leiden. And I guess her doctor said, you can't take any hormone replacement. Carrie basically said in her colorful way, that's bullshit. But you got to be careful with what form you're doing it in. And I will have her come back on and talk about that in general. But Carrie basically said that you definitely, and look, this is secondhand information. Yeah. So this is what she told me. I'll just make sure I'm recalling it correctly. She said that you got to be careful with the oral forms, but a topical form is much, much safer for that. Something you put on your skin and absorb through there. It's processed differently.
That's interesting because a lot of time we actually prefer the oral forms, right?
Well, again, that's like that one size fits all thing. It depends, right? It depends on the application, who you are, what you have going on. What might be the perfect form for one person is like something you don't want to do for someone else. For instance, for something like this. But what Carrie did say is if this lady in question always can contact her at Stand Up Integrative Medicine if wants to set up like a consultation. Yeah. And she can kind of go deep into, because everything is a risk benefit, right? Mm-hmm. But my point was, and what she got fired up about, what Carrie got fired up about is she sees this all the time when patients come to her and their doctor won't do anything for them.
Just like
blanket no. And these doctors haven't looked into the current literature. And by the way, oral versus topical forms are metabolized differently. I mean, sometimes you need a combination of two things. You don't want unopposed estrogen. There's all kinds of little details in here that you try to personalize, right, for each individual patient. And that's where personalized, individualized medicine is, that's where we all need to go. But a lot of these doctors don't know what they don't know, and which is a problem.
Right.
So yeah, I would have her reach out to Carrie, because I've already told, obviously I told Carrie about it, and
because they're still in Washington.
Yeah, as long as you're in Washington State, that's where Carrie's medical license is. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend.
Side note, when I was rolling with someone yesterday, they were I was on top, and they were trying to almost like come out to like dogfight into
from half guard to dogfight or something.
Yeah. And they were kind of trying to grab around my leg, right?
Yeah.
To like a single leg kind of position. And they grabbed my leg, and then they paused and then started like tapping on my like quad. And they said, how is your leg so stiff? That is like really muscular. And then they were saying like, there's no reason your leg should be that strong.
Are you making this up right now?
The Russian bot was sitting right there, and he will comment on YouTube as he always does, and he was watching this amazement happen.
So why are you talking about this? Is this like a humble brag? What is this?
It's not a humble brag.
Okay.
It's informational.
You just wanted to share it?
I'm just saying, the guy was amazed about how like rock solid my legs were.
You do have you have like a Marcelo Garcia kind of more lower body.
Though. I got a little more definition than him.
Okay.
A little less hairy, too. He's a pretty hairy guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marcelo. We know you're watching. So good job or not good job, but good luck battling cancer.
Oh,
Did you know that?
No.
You got diagnosed stomach cancer?
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. It's poopy. He, I think, just went through his first round of treatment.
They said his only symptom was hiccups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just had hiccups that like wouldn't stop or something, so then he goes in.
Well, gastric cancers are not that common either.
I was going to say, I don't feel like it's a very common thing.
No, colon cancers, obviously, as far as gastrointestinal, colon cancer is much more common. That's an interesting thing. There are some gastric cancers that are interesting. There are some environmental things that can lead to that.
What do you mean by that?
Like things you're ingesting. Different chemicals and things like that. I'm just saying what can cause
fluoride in the water.
No, that hasn't been linked. Because chronic inflammatory disorders, I think like chronic H. pylori infection has been linked to development of that. I'd have to go back and look through it. But wow, that's too, man, I wish him best.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Sucks.
He's watching. You can tell him. But yeah, that was just a side note. I just thought you should know.
Well, he's in a good location for that kind of advanced medical care, though. That's
I meant my leg story, not Marcelo.
You're okay. But that was your whole point, was that you have really awesome legs.
Well, I'm not saying they're awesome. I'm just saying this guy thought they were.
Okay.
It's not my fault. But he ultimately elbowed me in the nose later. I don't know if you can see. It's not as pretty.
Your nose is definitely not as good as your legs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's very shadowed, Bill.
Oh my God!
Well,
we just lost 2 or 3 subscribers for sure. Oh my God!
Yeah, but we gained a couple bears though.
Oh, jeez. Okay, come on.
What topic do you got for me?
I wanted to talk about guard, actually, something actually jiu-jitsu related.
Okay.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been asked. We take some people under our wing, as we should. Some, especially new white belts.
Some are a little more touchy than others. You. I'm saying to your quote unquote ducklings.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I have a lot of comments I'm going to withhold right now. So,
Chris is fired up, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that smoldering. I'm about to,
Also couldn't deny it. But what do you got? What about guards?
Yeah, and I'm sure you've been asked too. Hey, what do you think? What guard do you like? What do you think is the most effective?
For sure. With a new person, that is a really hard question.
It is super hard because it's not straightforward. I mean, we've seen articles all over the place in, on jiu-jitsu sites and all that, talking about body types and guards, right? The classic short, stubby leg person with the half guard and butterfly, and the, long, lanky people with, more of the like spider guards and, strong closed guards and things like that. But I don't think it's that simple. And I thought I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but I can just tell you my experience with guard.
Please.
Coming up. So, I personally, I'm not a tall person. You and I are probably the same height. What are we, like 5'9"?
Yeah, I mean, I got probably at least a
millimeter on me.
No, probably at least an inch or two on you.
You think so? Okay. Well, we're right around the same.
Trust me, I'm sure when you were 22 years old in 1950, you were 5'10". But now,
I've shrunk.
Gravity has hit.
It has, dude. I will tell you that. I can't argue with that.
Your facial tissue, your height.
It's all just kind of, it's a scene, man.
Yeah, 5'7" now.
Don't you know short guys like, no, I'm not. I'm 5'8"3/4.
It's 5'7.5".
Yeah. Tall people are like, dude.
Bill has told me that he's like, was it 5'9" or 5'10" in the morning?
Yeah. Every morning I'm about 5. I'm close to 5'10".
There's actually some truth to that.
Thank you.
The actual discs hydrate more so when you're younger, but the discs do hydrate over through an osmotic effect.
Preach.
But it's not what you think. We're talking about like millimeters. But I'd
like to see the science on that.
There is science on that.
Well, do you have it on you?
I can tell you who studied this is Stuart McGill out of Canada. He's a
fake name.
He's a spine biomechanics guy. Anyway,
you're just making spike mechanics,
spine biomechanics.
Okay. I thought you were just rolling, just making up names, making up science.
That's what I do anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I gravitated towards guards because I started as a white belt when I was 45 years old. A lot of my explosive athleticism, just that, I naturally gravitated away from very dynamic open guards at first. I didn't play a lot of De La Hiva. I didn't play spider or things like that. I went to more controlling guards, if that makes sense, where I could kind of lock people down a little better.
A lot of connection.
Yeah, lots of connection, not just with legs.
So what, like closed guard?
Closed guard, I found that I'd pull people in the closed guard to set up things like scissor sweeps and things like that. And there's been an interesting evolution in my closed guard now at black belt. And I'll kind of tell you about that later. But I really then started gravitating towards like half guard knee shield, half guard with a butterfly hook. Played around with a little butterfly, not a whole lot. Did that for played half guard for a while, kind of that half guard dogfight. Going, shooting for the underhook.
Yeah,
that type
with
of
a lockdown or no?
I didn't play a lot of lockdown, honestly. I do switch that outside hook though, and internally rotate their hip, which is kind of halfway to a lockdown,
right?
To kind of use the biomechanics to keeping people from pressuring me, and also trying to keep them in place while I kind of set up some things. At blue belt, I started playing around with like single leg X, so getting a little more adventurous with that. X guard 2, entries into X, kind of getting under people a little more.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting, as I progressed up, I started playing, I got away from closed guard for a while, playing a lot of half guard. And then I was kind of at...
half guard's totally the old man game, too.
Yeah, hey, man, I still play it all the time.
Well, you're not getting any younger.
No, that's for sure. But I started playing lasso, kind of a... which, again, is the same kind of, really trying to lock people into me, and trying to lock them down, especially the very dynamic guard passers.
Yeah.
And then, recently I've kind of come back to closed guard and working some kind of different kind of control from there. I've never been one to throw up a ton of arm bars or triangles from closed guard, but, more of the kind of omoplata, and recently like some back take type of things that I've been doing from there. But again, the theme for me with guard has been just kind of slowing people down and doing a lot of contact with them. But I don't think there's any... I've seen some short-legged people play pretty decent spider guard, body, and it depends on your opponent too, who you're going with.
For sure.
But, that whole thing, I guess my point is that whole thing where, short, stocky people should do this and long, lanky people should do this. I think you're limiting your game if you stay away from something, because I think each guard has its own advantages.
For sure.
And you just kind of have to figure out it's a tool and how to best use it. Of course, body type matters. There's a certain amount of leverage and reach that short people don't have. But again, short people can get underneath and, so there's some advantages and disadvantages to both. So my whole point to someone starting out is so if you're gravitating to something you're gravitating towards naturally, go with it and kind of get good at something.
Yeah.
But don't just rule out some of these other types of guards.
Yeah.
I guess is my point.
Yeah.
Because that's, that I don't really buy into that whole thing that, just because I have this body type, I can't really do another guard effectively. And that, I guess that was my only point.
So you had a question, but you answered it. So you just asked yourself.
I do that all the time.
Do you remember you did that to me last week?
Yeah.
I asked a question.
Yeah.
I gave my opinion, and then you ridiculed me.
Well, I know.
Okay.
Do as I say, not as I do, man.
Okay.
Come on, dude. You get off my lawn.
Yeah. I was going to have a few disagreements with you.
I like it.
Along the way.
Cool.
But you said something in there, which I totally agree with. Like, I was hoping to find a hole, but I can't. And that's where whatever you gravitate towards, like if you find, now in the very beginning, it's hard to even figure out what you gravitate towards, but we're saying, okay, you've been doing it for a little while, maybe a couple months. You're seeing stuff a little bit more. if you find yourself naturally getting to double underhooks or a butterfly guard, you like sitting up. You don't like sitting back in a supine, something like that. You got fragile hands, so spider guard sucks. Whatever it is. If you're mentally gravitating towards something, yes, I think even if you're stocky or lanky, try not to get put into those little holes, those pigeonholes of like, oh, you're tall and lanky, you should do spider guard.
That's what I just said.
Right. So that's where I was going to disagree with you a bunch of stuff until you got to that point. I was like, oh, dang it.
I'm sorry to ruin your day, man.
At the same time, and I think you said this also, there is benefit to those pigeonholes. So if you are tall and lanky, generically you will have potentially success in spider guard, because how spider guard against a long and lanky person is horrendous to deal with when they know what they're doing, right?
Yep.
But also, you did say it depends on the opponent. If you have someone that is really good at killing spider guard, even if you are the body type, they're just going to kill your spider guard, right?
Or if you have someone about your size,
yeah, it can be then much more difficult. I think so. In my beginnings, I gravitated towards like the opposite, basically. I didn't even know what I was really doing. I was just intuitively, I watched so much.
That was very apparent.
Ew. I had watched so much, so I kind of knew what stuff looked like or was supposed to look like, so I'd put myself in positions.
Making shit up, like you accused me of.
Basically.
Okay.
And, but I found myself doing lasso and reverse de la Hiva, which are a little bit, I want to say fancier, but they are, especially lasso is not. You wouldn't necessarily have a new person do reverse de la Hiva right away.
Right. Not traditionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially because then you have a loose leg. It's a little bit more.
Unless your whole gym is a knee cut type of passer, then you probably get benefit out of it.
Lasso, I think, is actually a pretty good tool or grip that you can use with multiple guards.
Yeah.
Whether it's lasso with reverse de la Hiva, lasso with spider, right? Collar sleeve, throwing lassos.
Totally.
Like it's a pretty flexible guard. But the understanding of it for a new person can be really difficult. And how you have to have a really strong discipline with your knee position as a knee shield or flaring it, deep lasso, shallow
your
lasso.
Grip, you want to retract that grip into your hip. Yeah,
and
I mean, for sure.
Yeah, there's some things you have to have super discipline with, right? Rather than, let's say, a closed guard, it's like lock them in, keep the posture down. Like those are your two things that you really got to just, that's what you're trying to do, at least at all times.
That's why we typically teach that to a lot of.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think for a new person, I was thinking about this, and I think butterfly guard is actually one of the better guards you could show if you had like limited time and you want to just get someone into playing guard. I started thinking about. I went through a few different in my head. And it's like when you write out a response to some asshole on Twitter, but you delete it, or even someone at work.
Or on a podcast, apparently.
So you're going to respond to that person that emailed you at work with like their condescending comment, and then you write back something like, hey, biatch, I saw that email, and yeah. But then you delete it, and then you write it again, then you delete it.
So you feel that way towards me?
Well, of course. But I'm saying I went through this process with what guard I think is good.
I see. Okay.
And I feel like for now I landed on butterfly.
Tell me more.
Okay. Because one, it transfers no gi and gi. Two, I think it might be a little easier to understand connection with butterfly. As in hooks, shins to the inside of the thighs, connecting with your upper body to theirs. It'll also transfer into butterfly half if you're going to play now a half guard. The off balance, that can come from
maybe learning how to load people
up, off balancing to, let's say, when you load them up and then you start like a normal butterfly sweep, right? That you just start taking them over to your side. So you're taking posts away, you're understanding underhooks, overhooks. So it's one guard that really has a lot of things that transfer to other guards. So if you learn butterfly guard, then you'll start to understand framing, underhooks, overhooks, connection, and the importance of connection. So that's why I was kind of going down that way.
I think it's good. And
your rebuttal, please.
No, it's not a rebuttal. It's a snarky comment. Like you'll teach that white belt, and then like we'll have an upper belt come over there and get a cross shoulder and a same side knee grip and spin them like a top, and they'll be like, "This sucks."
Yeah,
because they don't know how to do it yet.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, and that's going to be basically any guard.
I am just joking. I know, of course,
you
it is.
Jerk. Same thing's gonna happen right with their closed guard.
No, I just because it happened to me when I first started playing butterfly. I got spun.
Who did it?
I think it Mo, if I remember right.
Of course. And he probably just hopped over your knee too.
He didn't do that. He just spun me into side control. I was like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put a little video up on Twitter of Mo just handling me like a child, walking me around the gym like a dog.
Yeah.
About 2 minutes long.
Oh,
wasn't great.
Did he have his knee on you?
You know, it was a little worse because I had turtled, and then he decided to mount my back.
Yes.
With his, he was sitting like a little kid with his knees real close together on the small of my back.
Yep.
And he started wiping sweat, and I don't know. He pulled a calculator out, started doing math. It was weird.
Talking to people.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm kind of trying to. It was gross. So,
no, it's a good point. I think that is a pretty good vehicle to teach some of those concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now, I think when you start getting into like guards of, let's say, lassos or spider and stuff that I want to say they're more advanced, because what would you say an advanced guard is?
Lapel.
Lapel? Like that's exactly.
For sure.
I would not want to show lapel guard because it's not going to transfer a whole lot to other guards.
Yeah.
Number two, and I think I've mentioned this before, let's say you commit to it and you start having success with it. You're going to have success against upper belts that you normally wouldn't have success with because their lack of time in that position and understanding. So what happens is you become super relying on, you end up relying on that, kind of like the leg lock thing.
Yeah.
You rely on this little cute thing, right? And you don't develop all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And because that guard doesn't transfer, you are now like in a really bad spot and your development is actually stunted.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a good example, Liv.
Yeah.
I think some of the transitions from single leg X to X to like reverse De La Hiva, that whole game can be kind of difficult at first to learn. People usually get passed all the time. They're trying to learn that one.
Yeah.
That might be a little frustrating to start with.
I'd be interested if people can comment, what's their go-to guard?
And why?
Yeah, and why? Like, why is it just you see it well? Is it your instructor plays it? Like,
yeah,
you know,
of course.
Andrew's an avid De La Hiva player.
Yeah.
And he's got a super strong De La Hiva.
Yep.
So naturally, a lot of our guys have good De La Hivas.
Glenn is one.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I'd be interested to hear what people say. Is it just inspired by because that's where they came into the class? Like maybe you came in and Andrew wasn't teaching De La Hiva, but he was teaching lasso. So now you're doing lasso or something.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear other people's opinion. I gravitated towards half guard because I thought it was really versatile too, for me. And I felt like I could maintain connection, but I could still move pretty well. I still had a degree of freedom. I didn't have both legs wrapped up, right?
There's some people that would say half guard is bullshit.
Yeah, they can say that all they want.
So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, but The difficult thing with that is you could be giving up an advantage if like that's your go-to guard, right? And you like sit down, they go, and you're like, okay, I'm okay with half guard. Like this is like a very Eddie Bravo thing.
Oh, I see what
right?
you're saying.
Eddie Bravo would intentionally put people like he wanted to play lockdown. Right?
Yeah,
he felt very comfortable there, so he would pull into half guard, right? And then he could work whatever the electric chair and all that kind of stuff.
I feel like the center of gravity,
because it's an easy way to get under people.
Exactly. You can lock a hip out with that outside hook. You can flip up their outside leg and really come up to a good dog fight.
Yeah,
it's a pretty non-ballistic sweeping type of. More of a wrestly type of thing.
Just know if there's people listening like, I haven't really committed to working my half guard. Just know if you are going to do that, you are picking a life of smush. It's just naturally, if you're going to play half guard, you're going to be smushed a lot.
You will. But the advantage, though, is even if the worst position, like in half guard, you never want to have your back flat. Even with a cross face and your back flat, there are still ways to weasel that leg in to their hip with like a knee to elbow.
For sure.
And set up some, especially if they still have that cross face, and set up some submissions right off the bat. I mean,
it's more so just know that your journey in half guard, super effective.
Yep.
But it's a journey that you're going to get cross-faced 80% of the time. You're going to be getting smushed a lot.
Yeah.
But as you're kind of saying, by people putting on the smush, it will sometimes open them up to sweeping positions because they're committing pressure.
You got Kimura trap from there,
deep half and all that.
For sure. I kind of like it for that reason. I think it's a fascinating subject. And I will also give a little public service announcement, especially people coming in as new white belts. I've said this before, that has some athleticism, maybe have some wrestling, and are neglecting their guard in general.
Yeah.
Spend time and let go of the ego. And
if you want to get good at jiu-jitsu.
If you want to get good at jiu-jitsu. Because you'll make progress, and we've said this before, but I think it bears repeating. You can make progress with a good wrestling background and athleticism at white belt level until you run up to someone that is equally athletic but also has taken the time and learned some jiu-jitsu, right? But I think like a half guard for a lot of wrestlers is kind of a natural, right? But start working your guard, no matter what it is.
Well, it's natural once they learn it, because in the beginning, like you already said it, you don't want to be laid flat, right? That it's like that's against their religion.
They'll give up their back.
Yeah. So once they realize the power of that being on their side and some of the little grip, some of the reactions that a jiu-jitsu person is going to have on top, because we're not going to do the same as a wrestler, right?
Correct.
We're not just trying to get them flat. Like we're okay with long stepping and stuff like that,
right?
And pants grips and all that, stupid stuff. So
arm weaves. And
once they just get a little hint of understanding what the top person's goal is, because a lot of time a wrestler, when they get into half guard, they just belly down. Right? They release the half guard and belly down because they're hoping to scramble from there. Well, instead, dig that underhook from that position and get into your dog fights and all that. Then they become like almost unstoppable.
Well, exactly. And I think especially if you're coming in with that background, if you just devote yourself to and make a rule for yourself, which I wish I would have done it earlier, but at blue belt, I would not play top game unless I swept to it. So I'd always, if at all possible,
you still do that a lot with
all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. I still do that. Exception of certain people.
Sure.
If I feel like I got to come in and play my A game, my top half game,
where you don't want to be on bottom.
There are some. There are a couple.
Yeah,
more than a couple.
You still pull guard on me, but
I do.
It's okay.
Well, let's be honest.
It's offensive.
No. Okay. If we're going to do revisionist history from your perspective, I have on one hand, I can count when we slap and bump that you pull guard on me.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to pass. And I think that's only because you've been really working that for a while.
The passing.
Yeah. So I had
and
no
you're
choice.
working your guards. So
exactly. So let's be honest. So what's really going on there?
It's a 50-50 split.
Okay.
Liv, do you got anything on a guard? Like, what did you play naturally right out the gate?
I think I was playing De La Hiva initially. And now it's kind of morphed into a Z guard.
Yes. Yeah, she does.
Kind of a half guardy kind of thing.
You've played some lasso before too, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like all over.
That's fine.
I don't really have like.
Well, what's good is that combo of a De La Hiva and a Z guard style is De La Hiva is if you're able to get into your kind of more squared, not squared. Your hips are more squared, right? You're getting De La Hiva. You're facing them. Well, if they force you and you can't get into that position, you can't get your hips to the outside of their foot to get a nice quality De La Hiva, maybe a grips or something, and you get rolled to the inside, well, now you can just go straight into your hip clamp Z-guard kind of deal. Yeah, so it's a good combo to work there.
Yeah.
I do like the hip clamp too.
Yeah, you worked that for an extended period of time. A great positional pressure mitigator.
I think Jake has an excellent hip clamp too. So we have a couple of people that play that. I think it's really effective. Yeah. Cool. That's anything else?
No.
Any comments?
Something.
Your thought on?
Give us something.
What do you want?
I don't know. Advice to give
want a
people?
Cake.
What?
I want a cake.
Okay, well, I don't have anything.
Yeah, your comments today are so random that we're both like trying to figure out, okay, first of all, where it's coming from. Second of all, I don't even know how to respond. So we get a lot of dead air. It's like these awkward kind of comments.
I had a cherry stuffed croissant this morning.
Okay.
Is that a croissant?
I don't know. I
was
think
pretty good.
Some sort of pastry.
Yep, 15 seconds in the microwave.
I know your deal.
Thank you.
Same with ice cream too. That's your go-to. I know.
I had a thought on something.
Profound.
Yeah, it was one of the guards. Let's see, we were talking about butterfly, then we talked about hip clamp, then we talked about lasso, or and also lapel. Why that's poopy.
Reverse De La Hiva.
Reverse De La Hive. Dang, I cannot remember. I had something juicy.
It was a guard.
I think it was a guard. Something. Oh, beginners. Oh, it almost came back. Oh shit! You see my brain working?
I did.
A couple gerbils.
I heard it pinging around inside there. Like, have you ever started an engine, like an old lawnmower engine in the wintertime?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounded like.
I remember when I used to install headstones at cemeteries and like sandblast the names on them and stuff like that. So we had the sandblaster.
Yet another vocation that Bill has done.
Yeah.
Like this.
And we put like the dates on them, the death dates and all that. And I remember I went out there and the truck, it had a compressor for the sandblaster, but it was old and it sounded like it was barely running.
Yeah.
And this old wily dude, he was the caretaker for the cemetery.
Do you look like the guy from Scooby-Doo?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that one. But he walks out, he's like a World War II vet or something. Like he's just really old. Gristly, got his Vietnam hat on, I think it was. And he comes out and he goes, I haven't heard something like that since in Japan. Them fishing boats out there.
That would be World War II.
There you go. So he used to hear these Japanese fishing boats that sounded like that.
Yeah.
And it like brought him back.
Gotcha.
It was interesting. He came out with a gun.
No, he didn't.
And I made that part out.
You had to embellish your story. Jeez, dude.
Let it rest a little bit, Liv.
We're both like hard on you today, dude.
I know.
We're like,
What's wrong
dude,
with you
it's like
guys?
you suck, Bill.
I got elbowed in the nose.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that story would stoke my memory about noobs and their guards and stuff like that. But it didn't.
It'd come later.
Yeah.
You'd be like, damn it.
Yeah,
I hate
drive
that.
home.
I hate that.
That's all I got on guards, though. Besides the thing I forgot.
That's okay, though. I think, I definitely want to hear from people on that. give me your 2 cents. Whether I don't care if you're a beginner or you're a black belt or, because this is for the community, right? I think the more we can kind of talk about this stuff, I just wanted to kind of dispel that, in my opinion anyway, that whole pigeonholing, like you said, like you're not going to be good at this because of this, right? So I don't really like that.
Yeah. I'm just starting to really dabble in this. So spoiler alert, or I'm giving up my game plans for the next, it's one of the things I'm working on.
Yeah,
along with close guard.
I have a new one too.
Oh, okay.
that I'm just starting this week.
Are you going to put it out there?
Yeah, people that have been training with me know, my ducklings know.
Oh my!
I've been showing them.
My ducklings.
They're no, they know who they are. I've been doing the whole Kimura system again.
Okay.
Especially a little T Kimura.
I just want to hurt people.
No, more for control more than submission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sweeps and control.
Is that because you can't submit with it?
Whatever makes you feel better, sure, Bill.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's super good control, position there, and it's effective from so many different spots.
Yeah, kind of those kind of transitions into crucifix and
back, all that stuff.
Yeah, that whole 9 yards there.
So I've found I don't want to say a new love for this, but a realization of how effective wrestling up from guard is.
Yeah.
I mean, holy smoke-a-ronies.
It's almost like you're like, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. you can get your fat ass up.
Yeah, exactly.
And literally, like, with an off balance, instead of trying to finish the sweep,
dude,
you can just technical lift or build up to an L, whatever it is. You can just literally stand up.
Yeah.
In that moment of a good off balance. You might not be able to finish the sweep because whatever reason.
I think Craig Jones just had something on this.
Is that his like DVD, the just stand up thing?
Yeah.
Is that basically what it's
stand
about?
Up, dude.
It's I haven't seen that, but it's crazy. Because I've started to realize there's so many opportunities, and maybe because we have a lot of wrestlers that it's like slowly like morphed into me. And Andrew's really good at this too.
Yeah.
But because I have more of like a guard that like I invert and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
That means I can get like double pants grips.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get double pants grips and I off balance you just a little bit, it's like
stand up with it.
It's the most powerful thing in the world.
It's crazy.
It feels like.
What's ironic is one of the warm ups that I like to do is that 90-90 to that to coming up on the knee, almost like a that kind of real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's super powerful.
Yeah, I've just had this epiphany. I'm sure there's people out there that are like blue belts. They're like, dude, I've been doing that since when I was 12 years old. I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
God, stop yelling.
Just hit me though.
No, I mean, I know it's funny. I was just talking to one of our purple belts on Monday, and we were talking about getting kind of zoned in and on one thing, like just focusing and get tunnel vision almost, and not letting that go. And like, we got all this around us. You know what I mean? Hey, look for these other opportunities. Just because you wanted to go for that first doesn't mean you have to get that at hell or high water.
Yeah.
Or just shift, like they shift their weight back, come on up. Or do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because I find myself all the time getting kind of tunnel vision on things.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another kind of topic, you know.
Well, because sometimes you have to tunnel vision just to like improve, right? It'd be like, okay,
sure.
But yes, like sometimes that's if you're intentionally telling yourself, okay, I'm not going to do nothing, but I'm going to do this.
Right.
Okay. But if you're not doing that and you're just rolling and you're like just leaving opportunities out there left and right.
Exactly. Yeah. So
which we all do basically.
Yeah, for sure. I catch myself all the time doing that. So it's another thing I'm working on is like, hey, why am I forcing this?
Right.
When we can go the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Just to change gears a little bit. We just had a card. Who's number one?
Right.
Gordon Ryan was supposed to compete in that as we did a preview with him on it. And 2 hours after we recorded, he pulled out.
Right.
Or at least it was
announced.
Yeah, was announced. And they replaced him with Nicky Rod, former teammate, beast of a man. All the other matches happened, but I just want to talk about them. I want to touch on them.
Sure.
Did you watch them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Carrie and I both did.
So let's just start at the main event.
Okay.
What'd you think?
So
it was a little controversial.
Yeah. Well, the whole greasing thing came back in. I don't even want to go there.
I don't even mean that part.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
yeah. And so the way I figured, first of all, Filipe Pena looked great as for his guard. I mean, but I know what Nicky Rod was going to do, try to get that
body lock.
Yeah, the body lock pass, which he did successfully a couple times.
Well, he got the grips.
No,
he didn't pass them.
It was pretty close a couple times. You're right. He didn't really consolidate.
Yeah, he got the hands class.
Yeah,
a couple times, and then Filipe. Now at ADCC, he did pass.
Yeah,
Filipe had a little bit better.
You can tell that he had a really good training camp,
which is the funny part because they made a little video about Craig Jones coming in and helping him for Gordon, and then Gordon made a funny video that said, "So you thought you were helping him for me, but
you just helped him for your teammate." It's hilarious.
Oh, it was good.
The shit talking is funny.
It's not everyone's cup of tea.
It's funny. It's just funny. As long as you don't take it too seriously, it's funny.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. So this is why I thought it was controversial. First of all, they go at the very start of the competition. They're like, well, here's our judging criteria.
Right. Which is 30 minutes, submission only.
No, I'm not even talking about just in general. I'm not talking about that match. I'm talking about before the whole event started. They're kind of, here's our judge. This is how we judge things, right? And then it didn't seem like they followed that to me. It seems like it's very nebulous on what was going on, because many would argue that out of the main event, the closest to a submission that happened was at the very end when Nicky Rod had that foot.
Heel hook, yeah.
Yeah. And so then you got to ask, and he was trying to pass the entire time, and I don't. It was very unclear how to score that thing if you're going to take it, because at the end of it, you had to pick a winner, and it wasn't very straightforward to me. And I think if they would have given it to Nicky Rod, I wouldn't have had any heartburn.
I don't think there was either way. There wouldn't have been too much of a full blown robbery.
Yeah,
but to add to what you're saying. Is who's number one, the event, says it's submission only. And we value, similar to fight to win, submission attempts.
Exactly.
Specifically deep ones. That's why, let's say in fight to win, they actually do kind of like a mini point structure. Yeah. They're not actually counting points on the board and stuff like that, but they'll say 1 point for it was a sub attempt, but it wasn't super deep. 4 points for he had to move.
Yeah.
He had to slam out of it, or he had to have a full reaction to that submission.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
Because I think Fight to Win does a much better job of that, because I've seen some Fight to Win matches where someone was positionally dominant through the whole match, but the other dude was throwing up submissions. Yeah. And so they went by their criteria to me more so than this. And
not saying that rule says better or worse. It's just they follow it better.
They followed what they said they're going to do.
I'd agree with that. Now, with the outcome, I would say I was listening to it was Grappling Rewind. Shout out to those guys. They have a podcast that they go over the event that was the previous weekend.
Nice.
And then they preview future events.
Cool.
And I was listening to how they were having a discussion about it. And because at first I was kind of like, I feel like Filipe, he got close to getting the back a couple times, got close to wrestle up sweeps. I felt like actually Filipe was more the aggressor than Nicky Rod.
Yeah.
I feel like Nicky Rod was doing this game that's like this mid-level game where he's waiting for you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
So he'll stay coiled up like a snake. Yeah. And then if you start opening up, then he goes.
It's kind of like a counter puncher.
A little bit. Yeah. But he's the top. He's the passer.
I get it.
So it's very difficult. You'll see out of nowhere he'll explode and try to get his body lock.
Right.
Now he's obviously still developing, so his game isn't super robust. So that's why I think the match can have those very boring moments. But also it can appear to some that he's actually the aggressor. I don't think he was.
No, and I agree with you. And I think if that would have been the criteria
right
laid out, I think we could have it would have been a much easier way to say, no, he did what he needed to do to win that, right? Felipe did.
Right. And because, so I actually, at first, I felt that Felipe was the winner, even though, yes, the largest 2 sub attempts in the whole match was the outside heel hook at the end and like a straight ankle lock.
Yep.
That Felipe had to, I'm mixing his name, Felipe and Felipe. I don't know which one it is, but he had to react, and he had grimacing on his face on both of those attempts. Okay. So now we're basically valuing those 2 sub attempts. And if you want to say him clasping his hands on a body lock, I don't put too much into that because he didn't even get past one of the legs.
Right.
Versus the near back attempt, back takes, and sweeps. So those are the 2 things that hold value. Now, who's number 1 says they value the submission.
Exactly. And that was my whole point.
Which is, to me, is why I actually changed my mind as I was listening to Grappling Rewind. And I was like, actually, I think Nicky Rod, if they hold true
that was my point.
He probably should have won.
Yep. Now, who had the better display of jiu-jitsu and straight? I think I would have edged out Felipe. I would have given that to him.
Yeah, if it was who kind of dictated the match a little bit more, I'd probably go with Felipe. I think that with straight ankle locks, it's so hard to tell. Like,
I know,
the severity of it and stuff. The outside heel hook, he had a bite for sure, but I don't know if it was, and he was grimacing at times. It's another one that it's hard to say.
I'll just say this. I would not want Nicky Rod grabbing hold of my ankle.
True. But I'm also not 230-pound Filipe Pena.
That's true. But I'm just...
with one of the best counter leg lockers there are.
For sure.
So, yes, if he's ripping on my leg, I'm...
But I'm saying there's probably some torque going on there.
100%. I'm not saying it wasn't a submission attempt.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, how deep was it truly? Super hard to tell.
Yep.
I think he had a bite, though, for sure. So, a little bit of controversy due to that rule structure, and it's something that FloGrappling needs to improve on. Whether it's talking to the refs or the judges, explaining it more. Like, I don't know. But they definitely need to hold true. Some people, tinfoil hat, is if you were to give it to Nicky Rod, it makes the Filipe Pena, Gordon Ryan match not as desirable. I think that's BS.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be just as excited because we've seen Felipe lose to Tex Johnson,
right,
and other people that are much lower ranked than Nicky Rod, and still people are excited about the Gordon rematch.
Right.
So I think people are going to be excited for that as much as they will, no matter what. Like,
I agree.
Now, and then if anything, it builds up the Nicky Rod thing. Now, also people are saying, well, is that Nicky Rod Gordon rematch? Is there a contract in place that makes it so they can't go against each other until it's on UFC Fight Pass because of that UFC Invitational thing? Is there something there? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I think that's probably stretching even with that. So I don't know. And then the greasing thing, I mean, it's one of those things where you can say the guy's glistening and all that. Is he doing something a little sketchy? Probably, but whatever. If you want to stop that, put long sleeve. I know, and spats on.
But there's also some people have dry skin, some people have oily skin too.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah. Some
people have less hair. If you're less hairy, you're gonna be more slippery
Jonathan
too.
Gracie. I mean, that guy was shaved up,
dude. So that's a beast right there.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's the greasing thing is kind of like, whatever. I mean, I get that it would be it would be match changing. But literally, I don't know why these no-gi events don't just literally say spats, long sleeves.
There you go.
Call it simple. I mean, that's not foolproof, but at least it's gonna do something.
It's better.
But that was the finals there. Filipe had great knee shield. He looked like, or Tom looks like him. Like that's how, when we talk about Tom, he plays just like that guy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then we had, who was that right before?
Giancarlo Bodoni.
Bodoni versus what's his? I'm brain farting right now. Gracie Baja. No, it was Bodoni versus the Baja guy.
Oh, Pedro Marino. Yeah.
Gosh, forgive me, sir.
Yeah, that was
that startled me.
Yeah,
that startled me. I had Bodoni.
I did too.
And Mourinho dictated that whole thing.
I mean, I can't really argue with that.
I was like, the foot sweeps this guy was hitting.
Yeah.
The most demoralizing finish of a match I think I've ever seen was when, at the very end, Bodoni has to do something. He basically has to submit this guy. And he stands up. He like, intentionally, he's like, I'm push him off. I stand up. And then he just gets foot swept.
I know.
Right back down.
Yep.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, maybe that was just good game planning, or did he take him easy? I don't know, because it was interesting to see how well Mourinho did against Bodoni. So,
yep. I enjoyed the match, though.
Yeah. Something about that cagey style. Mourinho had a couple, like, leg trips, quote unquote.
They look like calf kicks, man.
I think one time he kicked him in the hamstring.
Dude.
Like, he had a single leg.
Carrie and I were talking about that. We were like, yeah, he was bouncing on that leg.
Yeah,
he smashed that.
I mean, come on. You're being a dickhead.
Whatever.
I mean,
yeah,
you're getting a throat chop.
That was a little questionable.
Yeah, for sure. Or even, like, when you would see, like, he would get Bodoni, like, backing up, like, tripping backwards, and then you see him going for, like, it looks like he's trying to palm strike him.
Yeah.
It's
a little rough.
It's not. I wouldn't say that's rough. That's being a douchebag.
Okay.
I know you playing the PC thing, but I don't know. What's that gonna do,
dude? Watch Andre Galvao.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's playing rough and whatever.
Well, I'm just saying it's
except
not
for the hard collar ties that are unnecessarily.
It's not unprecedented. Is my point.
Oh, of course. I mean, Wagner does the same shit.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not douchey.
Okay.
I mean, it's just. And I know some people will just call me soft, but I think you're not going to get anything out of literally leg kicking a guy.
Yeah.
It didn't even take him down.
No.
Didn't even take him down.
Yeah.
So you're just literally trying to kick the guy in the leg.
And then he pulled off some really nice timed ones too.
For sure. The ones where he didn't have to kick the shit out of his leg.
Just whoop.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Which were really nice.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
The timing on those was fantastic.
Incredible.
So, I don't know. That stuff I think
it's a little douchey, but I think, there's that kind of aggressive kind of almost I'm getting your head game, the quote unquote aggressive collar tie and you're basically slapping them in the neck.
I just don't know how I'd react to that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Anyways,
I know how I just not at that level, but someone at my level it pissed me off, and then I'd probably I'd probably feed right into their plan and just get ultra aggressive. But the thing is,
just like they're trying to get you to get upset and overcommit. Yeah. I mean, they're overcommitting.
They are.
Yeah. I get a little ramped up about it.
I can tell.
My peonies are in my butt. So then we had JT Torres. Speaking of being in someone's butt, JT Torres physically molested a man on TV.
Dude, his shoulder pressure is ridiculous. I mean, he always has that pressure game.
Who's he going against?
It was, damn it.
I can't believe I forgot. Dude. I'm just bad with names today.
I am too. I'm dropping it.
Remember, Liv? Wasn't Taza?
No.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
There's so many people just yelling at us right now.
I know.
I'm sorry.
If only we had someone with a computer over there.
You know what?
She's going to use her phone instead. So, but he was putting the smush on.
Yeah.
I mean, a passing clinic.
Yeah.
A control clinic.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He's one of my favorites to watch.
Yeah.
His game is great.
It's one of those things where you're not going to get a ton of quote unquote excitement.
Dude,
but you don't watch JT Torres for a Hanato Canuto match.
No.
You watch him to just see the bare bones jiu-jitsu.
It's just technically excellent, man. I mean, just
he doesn't open up. He doesn't risk anything. It's just pure dominance.
Yeah, I love it.
So that was a good match. And then we had Jonathan Gracie versus Oliver Taza.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, Smush City.
It was.
This is what the theme of this card. And a lot of people said it was kind of a boring. Oh, against Majid.
Yeah, it's Majid. Yeah.
Yeah.
The T-shirt and the board shorts. Yeah.
So a lot of people weren't too pumped after this card because they were like, it's just kind of boring, which I get from. I think that's partly due to a 30-minute finals match, which is
back
unnecessary.
take that Jonas did.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, so, we say, yeah, physically a specimen, super strong, smush, but
he's our division.
Oh, that's horrific. I don't even want to talk. I don't
know.
even want to think about that.
I'm happy I'll never see that guy.
Holy cow. But it wasn't just that. It was just, there's some brilliant.
Yeah, there's a technical piece there that was.
Yeah.
It was great.
There's a couple of, I'm like, what? I mean,
if you want to study, if you're into like studying and you want to watch fundamental good control that goes against leg lockers, it goes against unorthodox half guard and guard players, which is what Majid and Oliver are. They're very high level leg locker, very crafty and unorthodox guard player, bottom player with Majid. You want to just learn how to shut someone down? Watch those two matches.
Yeah.
Watch the grip structures, watch the hip placements, the knee, just watch those two matches and really study them, and you'll noticeably get better.
I actually really enjoyed the card.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too, but I understand the criticism
of
it being, one 30-minute match is too long, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we could criticize that, but as far as I like watching technical jiu-jitsu.
Of course. And there's, of course I do too, but I understand when it gets to the point where you just want, it's entertainment too.
I understand.
And you want to see some submission attempts. When there's zero submission attempts except for the last 3 minutes or
especially if
1
it's
minute.
a submission only.
Right. Then it's kind of like, ugh, I would love to see, a little bit something on that end. But those are a couple good matches.
I like Jasmine Rocha.
That was a good one.
I
that
love
was fiery.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's one of the best matches of the tournament, I thought.
Probably maybe the most entertaining, I would say.
Excellent.
Against Amanda Bruce.
That headlock position she had on
At the
Jasmine,
end.
and
To get the finish, you're saying?
No, that Amanda had.
Oh, yeah.
There was arching into it.
Yeah,
like cranky look at that. That looked horrendous. And she just gutted through that. And
yeah, that Bruce looked like she was really kind of dictating that match for a bit and was really putting it on her. And it looked like she might have got tired.
I don't know, but that was awesome.
Because she just let her guard down for a moment, and Hoka just knee cut like out of nowhere. And then once she got side control, it was kind of the beginning of the end, towards the end of that match.
That was awesome, though.
Yeah, and then she finished her with, it looked like, I don't think it was just a smother. I think it was a true punch choke.
Oh, yeah.
Ezekiel kind of deal.
No, it was like
with a smother.
It was a bit of an Ezekiel going on. That's what they were calling it, smother. But her other arm was tucked. You could see it tucked in.
Yeah, and whether she got the blade
or got
the
punch, yeah.
But that mixed with the smothering, I'm sure was, and then I think they were 13 minutes in or something like that.
Yeah,
of a really high pace.
Horrific.
Match.
Yeah, that's not a good position to be in.
Yeah, and then you had a couple of the prelims. There's a guy that was taking both of our testosterone vials.
All of them.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
So just for everyone, that's not testosterone replacement.
No.
That'd be called TAT. That's testosterone addition therapy.
Yeah, he took everybody's
allegedly.
And we're not saying his name.
No, allegedly.
But that guy was
holy
another
cow.
smushing,
Dude.
complete smushing.
Yeah.
And just a thicky triple C. And then there was a pretty scrappy first match, which was pretty good, with a good call out to one of the AOJ guys, which
I thought was cool.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I do have a little thing with the Grappling Rewind guys. I hope they see this. They said, because there was ONE FC was this weekend, Tommy Langacker competed against a Sambo champion, and he heel hooked him. Now, ONE FC has been putting Sambo champs against jiu-jitsu guys. Cade Rotolo, Mikey Musumeci. That was the guy. Mikey destroyed his leg. Was a Sambo guy. And then this is another one. And Tommy heel hooked him in like 2 minutes or something like that. And they said, Grappling Rewind, it was my bugaboo, that if they put the top on, like the Sambo tops, that it's basically like a gi top.
I know.
Slightly different, but basically the same. That if you put a gi top on them, the jiu-jitsu guys would get destroyed.
I don't understand that argument.
Thank you.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think his name is Maine from Grappling Rewind. I think he was just kind of, he was flowing. You know how sometimes I talk and then I'll talk about like midgets or something?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, then Olivia and I have this 30 seconds of silence.
Yes.
We're like, I don't know what to say. Yeah.
I think that's what he did.
Okay.
He started talking about midgets and talking about Sambo guys destroying jiu-jitsu guys because they have a gi top, especially Tommy Langacker, the most like gi top oriented.
Yeah, I know, but my point is, even take that away. What are we doing here? It's a grappling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not.
I think they get dominated worse, especially someone like Tommy.
But you could make the same argument for a gi grappler going into no gi. Oh, if they had the gi, it would have been well. They don't, and it's
you don't got to make them sound dumb.
No, I'm not trying to, but it just is just like that's not even an argument to me. It's like, well, you know what you're doing here at the rule set.
Well, I think they were just there. He was just kind of throwing it out there. Like it was just kind of like I wonder if
Okay, sure, but what if they both had gis on?
What if they had guns?
No, well, I mean, just
true.
keeping it within the thing. I mean,
grappling.
Yeah. So, but I mean, why would that make a difference though? Having one guy with a gi top and one without.
Because Sambo guys, they don't, in certain Sambo rules, they do not do twisting heel hooks.
Okay.
And that's why some people are saying they're getting destroyed by jiu-jitsu guys, is because they're all doing heel hooks to them.
Yeah. Well, IBJJF wasn't doing them for a while either.
I know. And then you're talking about a pure gi guy, Musumeci, and Cade's not known as a heel hook guy, and either is Tommy. So I think it's
fair enough.
A great excuse, but
it was just like you said, just throwing some.
I think so.
Throwing some shit, see if it stuck.
And I think he said they would get destroyed when he meant like it would maybe be more competitive. But to me, I'm also like,
but why? But why though? What was the rationale?
They didn't really get into it.
Oh, okay.
I think the only thing that the top helps with is they would throw a jiu-jitsu guy on his head.
Yeah.
That's it.
If both of them had tops.
Yeah, if they both had tops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You thought I was just talking about one of them?
I had no idea what they were talking about. If they both, that'd just be like, well, let's just make it a gi match.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think he was thinking that they would have certain techniques that would be available with a gi top, if they both had gi tops on, that would make it more competitive, and I think it would actually be less competitive. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, if the jiu-jitsu guy stood, they're going to get thrown on their head for sure.
Well, that'd be like going against Olympic class judoka.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. That'd be dumb. That's not good strategy.
Right. So, unless it's Cade, maybe Rotolo's, they might wrestle him down or something.
Sure.
But yeah, that was my bugaboo.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tag him in it.
Yeah, I'm coming in hot on him.
Yeah, I was like,
I just hadn't heard the.
Chris is just pissed. Man. Jeez.
No, it just didn't make any sense to me. The statement.
It's okay. You're rude.
I am.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Is that all we got?
That's all we got. And we'll come back around on some of those other questions. We'll get Carrie back on here to do a little deep dive into some more stuff.
I love it.
And please keep sending questions and snarky comments on YouTube that Bill will answer.
Yeah, that's true. I will do it, and I will clap back real hot. Thanks, guys.
Later.